A whisper greets you, cold as the damp stone beneath the city's heart. Welcome to where silence drinks the breath of saints. You stand at the threshold beneath Notre-Dame, where centuries fold like shadows over hidden secrets. In this cavernous crypt, the air is thick with prayers long faded, and the echoes of ancient monks who once walked these hallowed halls murmur in the darkness. The flicker of your torch casts trembling light over carved stone ribs and vaults, guiding you downward to the resting place of a book that should never have known daylight, the grimoire sealed beneath the cathedral's very foundations. As the chill seeps deeper, you are invited, a quiet ritual in itself, to like this whispered tale, subscribe to its telling, and leave your mark, your location, your hour, to anchor your soul against the unknown. This is no mere story, but a covenant, a safeguard whispered in the tongues of those long dead. The grimoire you seek is not found in grand libraries or dusty tome shelves, but in the damp, fetid crypts where forgotten relics languish. It is spoken of only by the oldest, monks whose voices crack like dry parchment as they recall the Folio sealed under Notre-Dame, a manuscript penned in blood and silence. Now, let us turn the first page. The crypt beneath Notre-Dame stretches like a cavernous maw, a vast tomb layered with centuries of bones, relics, and memories soaked in holy water and darker stains. This subterranean cathedral, barely touched by the light of day, is a sanctuary of silence, where the past converges with the spectral residue of forgotten prayers. The grimoire's prison is no mere chest or iron-bound codex, but a sealed niche within the foundation's oldest stones, a reliquary, not of saints but of secret knowledge forbidden even to the church's most learned. You feel the weight of unseen eyes, the silent witnesses of history. As you step deeper, the echoes of chanting monks rising and falling like a heartbeat in the darkness. An obscure fact clings to these stones. In 1290, during the height of Gothic piety, the cathedral's masons recorded the discovery of a sealed cavity beneath the choir, hidden during earlier construction phases. No official record exists of what lay within. Only a cryptic Latin inscription warns, Hic liber clausus tenet vocem vetustatem. Here the book is closed, holding the voice of antiquity. What voice, you wonder? And why was this grimoire sealed away, rather than burned like the heretical texts of the time? The answer may lie in the realm of forbidden belief. Among whispered tales is the ritual of the silent benediction, a ceremony performed by secretive monastic orders to bind not a spirit or demon, but a knowledge so potent it could unravel faith itself. This ritual involved binding the grimoire with prayers woven from iron and wax, each word a chain, each syllable a lock. The monks believed that by sealing the book beneath sacred stone, they imprisoned not just ink and parchment, but an echo of the divine corrupted, a blasphemous secret that could unmake the soul of the church. Yet a scholarly mystery remains as chilling as the crypt's cold breath. What lies within the grimoire's pages? Scholars debate the existence of a theological enigma called the Codex Silenti, a lost manuscript alluded to in 14th century heresy trials, but never seen by living eyes. Some suspect it is the same grimoire hidden beneath Notre-Dame. Does it contain a revelation that challenges the dogma of creation itself? Or a forgotten liturgy that predates Christianity? The questions hang like smoke in the stale air. As you trace your fingers along the rough stone, you hear it, almost imperceptible, the faintest sigh, a breath from the ages, the grimoire's voice trapped in ink and stone. To read it is to listen to a liturgy of shadows, a hymn of lost souls. And now, as the shadows gather and the candle flickers low, the first page awaits your touch, trembling with promise and peril. The descent has begun, and the ancient monk's whisper guides you through the veil. Now, let us turn the first page. The ink that stains the pages of the grimoire is unlike any other, a concoction whispered of in the darkest corners of medieval alchemy. You lean closer, the flickering candlelight revealing letters that shimmer faintly with an otherworldly hue. This is the ink of forgotten blood, a pigment blended not merely from soot or crushed minerals, but entwined with substances so rare and unholy that their origins are obscured by centuries of silence. Legend tells that the monks who scribed this book used the blood of a saint lost to history, a martyr whose name was erased by time, yet whose sacrifice infused the ink with a power both sacred and profane. This ink, said to never fade nor smudge, holds the memory of that blood, an eternal witness trapped beneath its gloss. You recall an obscure historical fact. In the 13th century, accounts from the Abbey of Saint-Cyr describe an alchemist monk who sought to capture divine essence within ink, experimenting with mixtures that combined natural pigments and the blood of holy relics. Though no surviving samples exist, his work is rumored to have inspired the creation of inks that could preserve text beyond the decay of time and mortal comprehension. The Grimoire's ink is believed to be his secret legacy, a bridge between the earthly and the divine, the physical and the spectral. As you study the script, the letters seem to pulse faintly, not with light, but with a subtle warmth, as if the ink itself breathes with the saint's lingering spirit. This leads you into the shadowy realm of a forbidden belief known as the blood script theory. Adherents whisper that true magic is not merely written, but birthed from life essence. That blood, as a vessel of the soul, when mixed into ink, grants a text a life force beyond mortal grasp. Such ink renders the written word alive, capable of influence, even manipulation of the reader's spirit. This theory was anathematized by the Inquisition, condemned as heresy and witchcraft, yet echoes of it survive in grimoires like the one before you. Yet this revelation gives rise to a deep theological mystery that has confounded scholars for centuries. Can the sacred be captured and preserved in such a profane way? The Church teaches that the blood of saints is holy, reserved for sacraments and relics, not for mundane uses. Yet, here lies a book whose pages are stained with such blood, immortalizing secrets that blur the line between sanctity and sacrilege. Was the grimoire a holy testament or a blasphemous relic? Scholars debate the nature of the ink of the martyr, if such a thing existed, and what it means for the doctrine of transubstantiation. Does the grimoire's blood ink contain the spirit of the martyr, trapped eternally in script? And if so, what does that imply about the sacredness of written words? Your fingers tremble slightly as you trace the delicate script. The letters seem to shimmer, hinting at a secret meaning encoded beneath their surface. This is no ordinary manuscript, but a living testament to a forgotten faith, a faith that dared to wrestle with the divine in a way that fractured orthodox understanding. The ink itself whispers to you of forbidden pacts, lost saints, and the power to preserve both body and soul in the permanence of writing. To touch these words is to invite their haunting presence. The grimoire's pages beckon you deeper, promising revelations as intoxicating as they are perilous. The blood within the ink does not simply preserve, it animates, it binds, and perhaps it curses. The saint who bled for this text may still watch from beyond, a spectral guardian or a restless spirit trapped in the swirl of letters and shadows. As you prepare to turn the next page, you hear the echo of a centuries-old incantation, low and trembling. In sanguine scriptum, veritas et maledictio. In the blood script, truth and curse. The grimoire does not merely record history, it bleeds history, binding the past with every word, every drop of sacred blood preserved in its ink. You can feel its silent pulse beneath your fingertips, the living presence of the lost saint flowing invisibly through every stroke. The journey into darkness and revelation continues, and the ink's whisper is a siren's call you cannot resist. The library's heavy doors groan closed behind you, sealing the air thick with dust and silence. Here, in the shadowed archives of the monastery, lies the tale of the monk who vanished at midnight. His name is lost, erased from the ledgers like a fading prayer, but whispers persist, of a scholar consumed by the grimoire's siren call. It is said he found the book in a hidden alcove, beneath layers of cryptic manuscripts, and dared to read aloud its forbidden verses. That night, beneath a sickle moon, he disappeared, leaving behind nothing but an overturned candle and a single scorched page. An obscure historical fact shadows this mystery. In 1357, monastic records from the Abbey of Saint-Victor mention a learned brother who mysteriously vanished after hours of study, leaving no trace beyond an eerie silence that pervaded the scriptorium for weeks. No official account ever explained his disappearance, but chroniclers hinted at the curse of the unseen words. Could this be the same fate that befell the monk who found the grimoire beneath Notre-Dame? The forbidden belief entwined with this event is known among secretive orders as the silent devouring. It posits that certain texts possess a consuming hunger, a voracity that devours the reader's spirit when recited aloud. The act of vocalizing the grimoire's incantations awakens an entity bound within its pages, which then draws the soul into a shadow realm, leaving the body a hollow shell. Such a belief was passed only in whispered warnings among monks sworn to secrecy, deemed heretical by the Church. The vanished monk's fate is a grim testament to this doctrine, yet a theological enigma looms. How does the spoken word transform into a vessel of spiritual annihilation? The Church venerates the power of sacred utterances, the Mass, the Psalms, the Litany, as conduits of divine grace. But here, speech becomes a weapon of unseen destruction, a perversion of holy sound into a curse. Scholars debate the voice paradox. Can sacred sound be corrupted to undo the soul it once sought to elevate? The monk's disappearance is a puzzle, a silence that questions the limits of divine protection and the shadow that dwells in every uttered prayer. As you hold the scorched page, its edges curling like a dying flame, you sense the residue of that vanished presence, a lingering echo of breath stolen by the grimoire. The letters shimmer as if alive, whispering the lost monk's final utterances in a voice both distant and intimate. To read aloud is to risk that same fate. To remain silent is to carry the burden of forbidden knowledge alone. You feel the tension coiling in the air, the thin veil between this world and the shadow into which he was drawn. The vanished monk's story is a warning inscribed not just in parchment, but in the trembling silence that follows his lost voice. The grimoire does not merely record history, it consumes it, drawing all who dare to speak its truths into an abyss of forgotten souls. You hold the echo of his final breath, a spectral reminder that some knowledge demands a price beyond reckoning. Night deepens and the shadows lengthen. The monk's fate beckons you onward, a dark path paved with silence and the unspoken dread of voices lost to time. As you prepare to turn the next page, the whisper returns, fragile and fading. Verba, silentium rapit. The words consume silence. In the cold hush of the crypt, you uncover the ritual known only as the veiled candle. It is an ancient ceremony whispered among monastic cults, a secret dance of flame and shadow designed to reveal what the naked eye cannot perceive. The grimoire's pages are blank to the uninitiated, a cruel mockery of sacred scripture. But when the veiled candle is performed, extinguishing lights in a precise coded pattern, hidden inscriptions bleed into view, ink drawn from shadows themselves, revealing truths meant to be cloaked forever. A little-known historical fact anchors this ritual in time and place. During the 14th century, a sect of monks called the Luminaries practiced a forbidden rite beneath Notre-Dame, recorded in hushed entries in a now-lost diary. They used beeswax candles arranged in a sequence matching celestial alignments, extinguishing them one by one in silence to summon a divine revelation. Though the diary vanished during the Reformation, echoes of the rite survived as a whispered warning among clandestine scholars. The veiled candle, it seems, was more than illumination. It was revelation by darkness. The ritual draws upon a fringe belief in obscuratio luminis, the concealment of light, where darkness becomes the vessel for divine knowledge. Practitioners believed that sacred truths cannot be borne by direct light, for light blinds the soul to mysteries deeper than sight. Only in extinguishing the light, in the dance of shadows, can the hidden text emerge, calling to those willing to embrace the night's secret embrace. This belief flies in the face of orthodox doctrine, which champions light as the essence of God's truth. Here, darkness itself is a sacred guide. Yet this paradox births a theological riddle. How can darkness, often associated with sin and ignorance, serve as a conduit for holy knowledge? The Church teaches that God is light, and darkness is the absence of divine presence. The veiled candle's power challenges this binary, suggesting a liminal space where light and dark intertwine. Scholars grapple with the nocturnal revelation mystery. Is the divine truth obscured by darkness a test of faith, or a heresy disguised as salvation? The answers remain locked in the flickering shadows cast by the extinguished flames. As you carefully arrange the candles as the rite dictates, the air thickens with expectation. One by one, the flames gutter and die, plunging the chamber into a void pierced only by the cold glow of spectral moonlight seeping through cracks above. Then, like whispers drawn from the void, the grimoire's once empty pages bloom with ink. Lines of arcane script curl and twist, forming glyphs that shift before your eyes. Elusive and hypnotic, the darkness itself seems to speak, a voice not heard but felt in the marrow. The veiled candle ritual is not merely a means to read, it is an initiation into the book's secret heartbeat. It demands surrender to the night's paradox, and acceptance that illumination may come through shadow. As the final candle is extinguished, the whispered chant rises within you, a fragment of the ancient monk's invocation, In tenebris lumen veritatis latet. In darkness lies the light of truth. The ritual leaves you trembling, the veil lifted only to reveal deeper shadows yet to come. You close the grimoire gently, the secret words seared into your memory. The dance of flame and shadow has begun, and with it, your descent into the cryptic mysteries sealed beneath Notre-Dame deepens. The night beckons you forward, into a silence heavy with unspoken dread and sacred revelation. Beneath the weight of stone and time, the grimoire bears the imprint of a seal unlike any other, an emblem broken yet bound to a fragment of Saint Denis himself. The seal, once whole and radiant with sacred power, now lies fractured, its shards a puzzle of faith and darkness intertwined. The relic encased within this broken seal has long been a source of whispered theological unease. For Saint Denis is no ordinary saint, but a martyr whose shadowed legacy dances on the knife's edge between sanctity and damnation. An obscure historical fact casts light on this enigma. In the early 14th century, during the height of Gothic fervor, relics attributed to Saint Denis were dispersed across the cathedrals of France. Among these was a fragment of bone rumored to possess not only miraculous healing power, but also a curse, one that doomed those who dared to question its holiness. The seal upon the grimoire is said to contain a shard from this very relic. Its fractured form a symbol of fractured faith and forbidden power. The broken seal ties into a fringe belief known as the Shard's Covenant. Practitioners held that fragments of saintly relics, when shattered, retain a potent duality: the blessing of divine grace and the lurking curse of sacrilege. This covenant suggests that power is neither wholly pure nor wholly corrupt, but about dangerous equilibrium, maintained only through ritual and sacrifice. The shattered seal on the grimoire binds its reader to this precarious balance, a tether to forces both holy and profane. Yet this brings forth a deep scholarly mystery. How can sanctity be fractured and yet remain whole in power? The Church venerates relics as vessels of divine presence, yet the idea of a fractured relic carrying a curse challenges orthodox teachings. This paradox, the saint's paradox, has confounded theologians who debate whether divine grace can exist simultaneously with damnation within a single object. The broken seal becomes a symbol of this eternal conflict, a theological riddle encoded in bone and parchment. As you gaze upon the seal, its jagged edges glint faintly in the candlelight, a silent testament to the tension between salvation and perdition. The fragment of Saint Denis within seems to pulse with an eerie life, as if watching, waiting, and judging. The grimoire's power is anchored here, where faith fractures and the unknown seeps through the cracks. The seal's brokenness, is not a flaw but a warning, an invitation to tread carefully on the razor's edge between divine revelation and spiritual ruin. To break this seal would be to shatter the delicate covenant binding light and shadow, risking the unleashing of forces long held at bay. As your fingers hover near the grimoire, you feel the weight of this burden settle deep into your bones, a cold whisper echoing the centuries-old prayer, in fractura veritas latet et mors viga. In the fracture, truth lies and death watches. The night presses on, and the grimoire waits, its secrets sealed in shattered faith. The path beneath Notre-Dame grows darker still, beckoning you onward into the depths where salvation and damnation entwine, and where the broken seal guards the thin line between them. As your fingers brush the parchment, an unsettling sensation creeps across your skin. The pages themselves seem alive, pulsing with a faint, spectral fluid. This eerie phenomenon is whispered among the oldest monks as pages that bleed and whisper, a curse believed to animate certain forbidden texts. The ink seems not merely stained upon the surface, but exuding a slow, ghostly ooze that emits faint murmurs, as though the book breathes secrets too ancient and dark for mortal ears. You lean closer, straining to catch the words, but they slip through your consciousness like smoke. Prayers lost in time, or perhaps curses barely contained. An obscure historical note anchors this spectral phenomenon. In 1422, a monk named Jean de Clisson was accused of sorcery after his manuscripts reportedly bled and whispered during a midnight reading session in the Abbey of Saint-Germain. Though his writings were burned, rumors persisted that the pages carried the voices of damned souls forever trapped within the ink's spectral essence. The grimoire beneath Notre-Dame shares this uncanny trait, an echo of Jean's condemned texts, a living memory in script. The phenomenon aligns with a forbidden belief held by secretive sects that certain inks, infused with alchemical essences and spiritual energy, could trap the voices of the dead or spirits bound by dark rituals. This spirit ink theory suggests the grimoire is more than a book. It is a prison, its pages a cage of murmuring souls, each letter a cell of ethereal torment. Reading such a text risks awakening these spirits, allowing their whispers to seep into the reader's mind and unravel their sanity. This raises a profound theological mystery. How can the sacred and profane merge within a text to trap spirits? And what is the nature of these imprisoned voices? The Church's doctrine holds that the soul departs to judgment after death, yet here are voices caught between worlds, bound by ink and parchment. Are these souls cursed, redeemed, or eternally lost? Scholars speak of the ink-bound soul's dilemma. Souls caught in liminal limbo, neither at rest nor fully condemned, haunting the grimoire's spectral pages. You feel the weight of these whispers press upon your mind, fragile fragments of prayers and laments blending into a haunting chorus. The pages bleed slowly, a viscous shimmer that stains your fingers with otherworldly residue. Each murmur coils around your thoughts, weaving doubt and dread in a tapestry of spiritual decay. The grimoire is not merely a vessel of knowledge, but a living testament to the thin veil between life, death, and the darkness beyond. The air thickens, and the whispered voices swell in intensity, urging you to listen, to understand, but warning also of the peril in hearing too much. The grimoire's bleeding pages are a haunting hymn to those who dared to bind souls in ink, a reminder that some knowledge comes not without sacrifice. As you close the book, the echoes fade but never fully leave, lingering like a shadow on your soul. The descent into the grimoire's mysteries deepens, each page a step further into a realm where spirit and scripture entwine in spectral torment. The murmurs are a guide and a warning, beckoning you onward into the darkness that lies beneath the cathedral's sacred stones. The margins of the grimoire teem with annotations, faded, chaotic, and inscribed in a hand so unlike the rest it chills you to behold. These marginal notes belong to a figure known only as the Heretic of Saint-Jean, a shadowy scholar whose true identity is lost to time, but whose rebellion against orthodoxy is immortalized in these inked whispers. His annotations challenge the very foundations of the Church's teachings, hinting at a schism so profound it threatened to unravel the spiritual order from within. An obscure historical fact underlies this heresy. In 1381, a secret trial at the Inquisition condemned a monk for disseminating forbidden texts, questioning the divine authority of the clergy and proposing alternate cosmologies. Though the monk's name was purged from the records, fragments of his writings survived hidden in margins and secret libraries, whispering rebellion. The grimoire's marginalia bear uncanny resemblance to these forbidden texts, a silent testament to dissent long buried beneath piety. The heretic's beliefs align with a clandestine sect known as the Fractured Creed, who held that divine truth is multifaceted and fragmented, irreducible to singular doctrine. They believed the Church's dogma obscured deeper chaotic realities, realms where angels and demons are reflections of the same cosmic force, and salvation is not a fixed state, but a journey through paradox. Such beliefs were anathematized, branded heresy, yet their echoes persist in the cryptic notes scrawled along the grimoire's margins. This brings forth a scholarly mystery that has haunted theologians. Can divine truth coexist with contradiction and dissent? The Church's doctrine demands unity and clarity, yet the Fractured Creed embraces ambiguity and duality. The heretic's paradox poses a question: is faith strengthened or shattered by embracing contradiction? The grimoire's margins become a battleground of belief, where orthodoxy and heresy collide in ink and silence. You trace the heretic's scrawls with trembling fingers, feeling the electric charge of forbidden knowledge seeping through time. The notes seem to converse with the main text, a dialogue of light and shadow, orthodoxy and rebellion, certainty and doubt. To read them is to peer into the soul of spiritual dissent, to understand the fissures beneath the cathedral's sacred facade. The margins are more than scribbles. They are a map to the fractured soul of the grimoire, a testament to the perilous quest for truth beyond the Church's sanctioned boundaries. As you fold the page carefully, a whisper echoes in your ear: veritas in fractura, truth in fracture. The heretic's spirit lingers still, a shadowed guide through the cathedral of contradictions that lies beneath. Your journey descends ever deeper, into realms where faith fractures and the forbidden beckons. The grimoire's margins open doorways to mysteries beyond doctrine, inviting you to step through and confront the sacred and profane entwined. The cryptic symbols entwined in the grimoire's text defy every cipher known to scholars, a labyrinthine code drenched in diabolic symbolism. This devil's cipher pulses beneath the ink like a living thing, resisting all attempts at unraveling. You stare at the swirling glyphs, their shapes both alluring and repellent, as if the very act of decoding might summon something best left dormant. Each curve and twist seems to mock your reason, a riddle locked in shadows. An obscure historical fact reveals that during the late 1300s, a group of monks known as the Custodes Arcanum guarded a collection of coded manuscripts believed to be bound by infernal pacts. These codes, purportedly created under the influence of demonic knowledge, were said to conceal secrets so dangerous that their deciphering was punishable by death. The grimoire's cipher shares uncanny elements with these manuscripts, hinting at a lineage of dark wisdom intertwined with sacred tradition. The cipher ties into a forbidden belief in demonica lingua, the notion that certain languages and symbols carry the essence of demonic power itself, a tongue that can bend reality and summon spirits. Practitioners claimed that by mastering these symbols, one could unlock forbidden knowledge or unleash infernal forces. The devil's cipher in the grimoire embodies this belief, a cryptic veil concealing truths wrapped in spiritual peril. This evokes a chilling scholarly mystery. Can language itself harbor power beyond mere communication? The Church teaches that words are vessels of prayer and worship, but the devil's cipher suggests a darker truth, that symbols can bind and unbind souls, invoke darkness, and alter the fabric of the divine order. The cipher paradox challenges theology. Does power reside in the sacred or in the act of interpretation? The grimoire's coded script becomes a battleground where faith, fear, and forbidden knowledge collide. You feel the weight of the cipher pressing on your mind, a mental labyrinth that shifts and reshapes with every attempt to decode. The glyphs pulse faintly, as if alive, their meanings just beyond reach. The grimoire warns silently. Some doors once opened cannot be closed. To decipher the devil's cipher is to risk unraveling the fragile veil that separates the sacred from the profane. As you close the page, the whisper returns, a breathless warning from the shadows. Cave nea perias. Beware lest you open. The cipher remains a living enigma, beckoning and forbidding all at once. The journey into the grimoire's darkness deepens and the path grows ever more treacherous. The grimoire reveals a sacrament long lost to the ages, a forbidden communion that blends the sacred with the profane in a ritual defying ecclesiastical doctrine. This unholy rite calls for elements both holy and dark, a chalice filled not just with wine but with tinctures distilled from roots harvested under eclipsed moons. The ritual's words weave a prayer that simultaneously invokes divine grace and ancient forgotten powers, blurring the line between salvation and damnation. An obscure historical fact anchors this sacrament. During the 15th century, scattered records mention secret gatherings of renegade monks known as the Sanguine Brethren, who celebrated a communion not sanctioned by the Church. These rites were shrouded in mystery, involving elements and prayers banned as heresy. While official chronicles deny their existence, rumors suggest the grimoire's forbidden communion is their lost liturgy, a testament to faith twisted and remade in shadow. This sacrament rests upon a fringe belief called the dual essence doctrine, holding that divine grace and infernal power coexist within the same sacred act. Adherents believe that true transcendence arises from embracing both light and darkness, that salvation requires walking through shadow. This doctrine directly opposes Orthodox teachings, which insist on the purity and singularity of the sacraments, making the forbidden communion a blasphemous enigma. Yet this ritual poses a profound theological question. Can holiness coexist with darkness within the same sacrament? The Church insists on the sanctity of communion as a symbol of unity with Christ, but the grimoire suggests a paradoxical fusion, a sacrament that fractures and reassembles faith itself. The sacramental paradox haunts theologians who ponder whether embracing duality corrupts grace or reveals a deeper truth hidden beneath dogma. As you read the sacred words, your breath catches at the mingling of sacred Latin and arcane invocations, the chalice's brim gleaming with unearthly light. The ritual beckons you to partake, to cross thresholds long sealed by fear and faith. The grimoire's page vibrates with power, a pulse both inviting and forbidding. The forbidden communion is more than a ritual. It is a crossroads where faith fractures and the soul confronts its own shadow. The candlelight flickers as you close, the page, the whispered invocation lingering. In umbra e lumine, salus et perditionis. In shadow and light, salvation and perdition. The path beneath Notre-Dame twists ever deeper, a descent into sacred darkness where the line between holy and profane blurs to nothingness. Deep within the cathedral's hidden chambers, the legend of the silent choir unfolds. A monastic choir once renowned for their celestial harmonies, now forever silenced by a dark pact tied to the grimoire's origins. Their voices, said to be blessed by angels, fell abruptly silent one fateful night, leaving only an oppressive stillness that seeped into the stones themselves. The silence was not natural, but a curse, a haunting consequence of a ritual bound to the grimoire's power. An obscure historical fact tells us that in 1314, records from the Abbey of Saint-Denis describe a sudden cessation of the choir's singing, coinciding with the disappearance of several choir members. Contemporary chroniclers attributed this silence to divine wrath or demonic intervention, but the true cause remains shrouded in mystery, entwined with the grimoire's shadowy past. This tale is entwined with the forbidden belief in the cantus maledictus, the accursed song, a ritual believed to grant singers heavenly voices at the cost of their souls, binding them eternally to a spiritual silence should they break the pact. The silent choir, it is said, accepted this bargain to safeguard the grimoire's secrets, their voices sacrificed to protect knowledge too perilous for mortal ears. A theological enigma arises. How can divine music, a symbol of worship and grace, become a curse that silences the faithful? The Church reveres sacred music as a bridge to the divine, yet the silent choir's fate suggests that such harmony can be corrupted, turning blessing into bondage. This choir's paradox challenges the understanding of sacred sound, questioning whether spiritual gifts can carry hidden curses. You feel the oppressive silence wrap around you as you turn the grimoire's page, the echo of lost harmonies haunting your mind. The weight of the silent choir's sacrifice lingers, a reminder that the path to forbidden knowledge demands tolls both spiritual and eternal. The cathedral's stones seem to hum with this silent lament, and the grimoire waits, its secrets guarded, by voices forever stilled. Your descent continues deeper into a darkness where music is muted and shadows sing in silence. Within the delicate vellum pages, a faded portrait emerges, a saint whose visage is neither wholly divine nor entirely mortal. The saint's shadow in ink lingers, an enigmatic figure whose identity scholars debate fiercely. Some argue this saint was a guardian of sacred truth. Others whisper he was a demon masquerading as holy. His eyes seem to pierce your soul, reflecting a duality of light and darkness, salvation and deceit entwined. An obscure historical fact deepens this mystery. In the early 14th century, a figure known only as the Veiled Saint appeared in ecclesiastical records, revered in secretive circles yet denounced in official doctrine. His relics vanished mysteriously, and few dared to speak his name aloud. The grimoire's portrait bears uncanny resemblance to descriptions of this veiled figure, suggesting a connection lost to time but preserved in ink. This portrait ties into a fringe belief called the doppelganger sanctus, the notion that demons can don the guise of saints to infiltrate faith and corrupt from within. Followers of this belief fear that some holy icons harbor hidden darkness, a spectral shadow cast by deception. The saint's shadow in ink embodies this terror, a haunting testament to the fragility of sanctity. Theological scholars grapple with a haunting enigma. Can a being be both saint and demon? Or is this duality a test of faith? The Church preaches the absolutes of good and evil. Yet the grimoire's portrait blurs these lines, challenging believers to confront the shadows within holiness. This sanctity paradox unsettles doctrines, forcing contemplation of spiritual ambiguity. As you gaze into the saint's shadowed eyes, you feel the weight of centuries bearing down, a presence that watches, judges, and perhaps waits. The grimoire's ink preserves not just image but essence, a spectral bridge between realms of light and darkness. The journey grows ever more perilous, the veil thinner, as you delve into mysteries where saints wear shadows and shadows bear saints. The cathedral's silence deepens, and the grimoire whispers again, a breath caught between worlds. In umbra sancti, malum latet. In the saint's shadow, evil lies. Within the cryptic folds of the grimoire lies the tale of the alchemist's blight, a secret chapter, describing transformations that surpass mere transmutation of metals. Delving into the alteration of mind and spirit, the text reveals processes by which seekers attempted to distill not just gold, but the essence of life itself, a pursuit that drove many to madness and ruin. The alchemist's quest was no mere scientific endeavor, but a perilous dance with forces, unseen and uncontrollable. An obscure historical fact emerges. In 1412, an alchemist named Guillaume de Vaucanson was recorded as having vanished after a series of experiments in a secluded monastery laboratory. His journals, later found charred and indecipherable, spoke of the blight, a malady that consumed his reason and body alike. The grimoire's account seems to echo his doomed experiments, a cautionary tale inked in madness. This chapter intertwines with a forbidden belief known as spiritual alchemy, the idea that true transformation requires a breaking and reshaping not only of matter, but of the soul's very fabric. Practitioners believe that such transmutation could grant divine enlightenment or eternal corruption, a dual edge that many failed to wield without succumbing to ruin. The alchemist's blight embodies this peril, a dark gift bound within the grimoire's pages. A profound theological mystery arises. Can the soul be alchemically transformed, and if so, is this sacred or blasphemous? The Church venerates spiritual renewal but condemns unnatural attempts to alter God's creation. The Alchemist's Dilemma questions the boundaries between divine grace and human hubris, the line between salvation and self-destruction blurred. The grimoire's text is a shadowed mirror of this eternal conflict. You feel the creeping weight of the blight as you read, the ink seeming to pulse with a feverish urgency. The warnings are clear, but obscured by arcane symbols and half-spoken prayers. The alchemist's fate whispers in the margins, a spectral caution. Some transformations leave nothing but decay in their wake. As you close the page, the faintest tremor passes through you, a shiver of shared madness and lost ambition. The descent into the grimoire's dark science deepens, and the night presses in closer, the boundaries between knowledge and oblivion dissolving like mist. The faded hymn inscribed within the grimoire is unlike any sacred psalm sung in the hallowed halls above. Known as the forgotten Psalm of Decay, it is a melody lost to time, whispered only in secret by those who dare confront the spiritual rot it summons. The psalm's verses weave a lamentation not of hope or salvation, but of gradual spiritual decay, an unrelenting corrosion of the soul, like rust upon the sacred vessel of faith. An obscure historical fact roots this psalm in the annals of forbidden worship. In 1368, records from a secret synod in the city of Metz speak of a heretical cantor who sang a hymn that caused illness and despair among listeners, their spirits withering as if touched by a creeping blight. The psalm was banned, burned, and its author condemned, yet echoes of its melody persist in the grimoire's pages, a haunting refrain of corruption. The psalm embodies a fringe belief known as the dirge of the withered soul, the idea that words and music possess the power to hasten spiritual decline. Followers feared that certain hymns, when sung with intent, could unravel the divine fabric within, inviting shadow and decay into the heart. This belief starkly contradicts the Church's teaching that music uplifts and purifies, presenting a dark mirror where melody becomes malaise. The theological mystery this psalm evokes is profound. Can sacred song carry malefic power? And if so, what does that mean for the nature of worship? The Church upholds the sanctity of hymns as prayers in melody, but the forgotten psalm suggests a duality where music can both heal and harm. The melodic paradox puzzles scholars, questioning whether the medium of worship itself can harbor spiritual toxins. You listen to the silent notes inscribed, their power palpable in the air around you. The psalm's verses crawl beneath the skin, a slow poison seeping into faith's core. The grimoire's ink seems to pulse with an eerie life, each syllable a step deeper into spiritual ruin. As you close the book, a whisper floats on the stale air. In cantu, mors late. In song, death lies hidden. The path beneath Notre-Dame twists ever darker, and the grimoire's pages beckon you forward, deeper into the hymn of decay and forgotten shadows. The night unfolds its final horror as the gargoyles of Notre-Dame, those silent sentinels of stone, begin to weep crimson tears, a spectral phenomenon tied inexplicably to the grimoire's resurfacing. The ancient myth whispers that these grotesque guardians are bound not only to the cathedral's protection, but also to the curses sealed beneath its foundations. Their weeping is not mere superstition, but a dire omen, a sign that the fragile barriers between worlds are breaking. An obscure historical fact lends weight to this chilling event. In 1493, chroniclers documented a mysterious night when the gargoyles appeared to weep blood, coinciding with an unexplainable surge of spiritual unrest within Paris. That night, several monks guarding forbidden texts vanished, their fates lost to shadow. The phenomenon faded into legend, yet the grimoire's recent re-emergence revives the old fear. The stone sentinels mourn what is to come. This event resonates with a forbidden belief in the tears of the Watchers, where the gargoyles are. Seen as watchers between realms, their tears a manifestation of sorrow and warning. The weeping signals that the balance maintained by sacred stone and ritual is faltering, and forces long imprisoned stir anew. The Watcher's tears blur the line between protector and harbinger, embodying the cathedral's spiritual decay. theological mystery deepens. Can inanimate protectors bear witness to divine or infernal events expressing grief or warning? The Church venerates saints and angels as messengers, but the notion of stone guardians crying blood challenges understanding of sacred agency. This Watcher's paradox poses unsettling questions about the nature of spiritual sentinels and the signs they bear. You stand beneath the weeping gargoyles, the red droplets falling like blessings turned curse. The air thick with foreboding, the grimoire's power pulses through the stones, awakening ancient fears and unspoken dread. The night grows colder, the shadows longer, and the path to truth grows ever more perilous. The cathedral's silent guardians weep, and the grimoire calls. The final descent approaches. At the cusp of dawn, beneath the fractured light filtering through stained glass, the grimoire's seal begins to crack. The air thickens with a tremor that reverberates through stone and spirit alike, as if the very heartbeat of the cathedral slows to a perilous rhythm. The seal, once an unyielding guardian forged from saintly relics and sacred iron, fractures under the weight of forgotten prayers and dark desires. This moment is not just an end, but an awakening, a breach between worlds that threatens to unleash ancient darkness upon the waking world. An obscure historical fact haunts this final hour. Chroniclers in 1524 recorded an event at Notre-Dame where the foundation stones trembled inexplicably, coinciding with the partial opening of a sealed vault beneath the choir. Though official records dismissed it as an earthquake, whispered accounts spoke of a deep rumble, a sound like 1,000 voices crying out in torment and anticipation. The grimoire's seal cracking now echoes that forgotten night, an omen of returning chaos. This breaking of the seal entwines with a forbidden belief known as the Dawn's Reckoning. It holds that when sacred bonds falter at daybreak, the veils separating the mortal realm from the shadow are thinnest, allowing ancient forces to cross thresholds once barred. The breaking seal signals not just physical release, but spiritual, unbinding, a reawakening of powers both divine and diabolical that have long slumbered beneath Notre-Dame. A profound theological mystery grips this moment. What happens when sacred seals fail? The Church venerates holy seals as eternal protections, yet the breaking calls into question the permanence of divine safeguards. This seal's fallacy unsettles doctrine, hinting at cosmic fragility beneath heavenly order. The grimoire's awakening challenges the very notion of spiritual security. You feel the cathedral's breath catch as the seal fractures, the air alive with whispered warnings and primal fears. The darkness beneath stirs, a shadow coiled and ready to unfurl. Yet within you flickers a stubborn light, the ember of faith that dares to confront what lies beyond. The final page awaits your touch, a threshold between salvation and oblivion. As the first light of dawn bleeds through ancient glass, the ancient monk's whisper rises once more. Now, we stand at the edge of eternity. The grimoire's secrets are unbound, and the descent into darkness reaches its apotheosis. The candle guttering in the crypt casts long shadows that dance like restless spirits upon cold stone. The seal is broken, yet the darkness does not rush forth in torrents, but rather seeps slowly, a creeping mist of forgotten fears and fractured faith. The grimoire's awakening is a beginning, not an end, a doorway cracked open just enough to invite those who dare listen deeper into its cursed song. You realize that knowledge is never free. It exacts a toll in silence, madness, and shadow. The sacred and the profane entwine in an eternal dance, and beneath Notre-Dame, that dance spins ever onward. If your candle hasn't gone out yet, you might be ready for the next book. There are more books, there are always more. The next whisper is older still now, but only for those who truly listened. The shadows you have just walked through are only the beginning, the faintest stirrings of a darkness that reaches far beyond what the eye can see or the mind can grasp. The grimoire sealed beneath Notre-Dame, its pages stained with blood and shadow, holds whispers that have long haunted the hearts of those who dare to seek forbidden knowledge. Yet, there is a book more elusive, more feared, more fiercely hidden than even this sacred manuscript, a volume whose very existence has drawn the wrath and dread of the most powerful institution in Christendom. The Vatican itself has sought to bury it, not once but 3 times, each ban a desperate attempt to stem a tide of corruption and secrets too perilous to surface. You have glimpsed the edge of the abyss, but the next step will lead you into a deeper night. This is the tale of a book that is not merely bound in leather and ink, but bound in fear, a book whose words have sparked heresies, conspiracies, and blood-soaked silences for centuries. To speak its name is to invite scrutiny and danger. To read its pages is to risk the very soul. Imagine the halls of the Vatican, vast and ancient, where the scent of burning incense mingles with the chill of hidden corridors, and behind heavy doors lie archives that few have ever dared approach. Within these labyrinthine vaults, a certain codex lies locked away, its pages marked with sigils and prayers both sanctified and forbidden. This is the book that the Holy See condemned thrice, each prohibition more severe than the last, a testament to the relentless power contained within its ink and parchment. Why such fear? Why the relentless pursuit to erase its memory from history? The answer lies not only in what the book contains, but in what it represents. A challenge to divine order, a revelation that unsettles sacred doctrine, and a testament to truths deemed too dangerous for mortal ears. This is a volume that blurs the line between revelation and damnation, a book that some say carries a curse as old as the Church itself. You stand now at the threshold of this dark mystery, invited to walk the path few have dared follow. The next chapter, "The Vatican Banned This Book 3 Times," will unveil the secret history behind each ban, the political intrigue, the shadowy figures who wielded power in secret, and the occult knowledge that threatened to unravel the very foundations of faith. You will hear whispers of those who read and vanished, of manuscripts stolen and burned, and of a relentless pursuit by zealots to keep the darkness locked away. But beware. This is no tale for the faint-hearted. The deeper you delve, the heavier the silence grows, thick with fear and the weight of unspoken truths. The very act of listening may change you, opening eyes that once saw only light to now perceive the shadows lurking just beyond the veil. If your candle flickers still, if your heart holds the courage to face what the Church sought to hide, then prepare yourself for the coming revelations. The book awaits, its pages thirsting for a reader willing to unlock its secrets. Will you be the one? Remember, knowledge is a double-edged sword. It can illuminate or destroy. The next episode will not simply tell a story, but invite you to partake in a ritual of awakening, a whispered invitation into the forbidden. Until then, keep your vigil, guard your light. For the night ahead is long, and the shadows deeper than ever before. The next whisper beckons. Will you answer?